All right, we're going to talk a little bit about what you do if this person has an arrhythmia. First of all, you pick up an arrhythmia by performing an electrocardiogram. So you do an ECG. You need to figure out whether or not it's slow or fast first. So we're not going to worry about slow right now, but we're going to worry about fast for a second. So if a person has a fast rhythm, then you look at the QRS complex. Okay, if the QRS complex is wide, then it's going to be either torsade de pointe or it's going to be VTAC. If it's narrow, then it's going to be either supraventricular tachycardia or it's going to be Afib or flutter. I'm generalizing, leaving some things out, but this is enough for most test questions. Okay, so let's go back to wide here. If the person has wide, you can give them magnesium. If magnesium doesn't work and they're unstable, you can shock them. Cardioversion. If it's VTAC and give them amiodarone and amiodarone doesn't work and they're unstable, then you can shock them. If it's narrow complex over here, it could be supraventricular tachycardia. If it's that, then you can do adenosine. If that doesn't work and they're unstable, you can shock them. Typically, you can kind of pick up if it's an SVT, if there's no P wave and it's kind of a regular rhythm. Other than that, and usually it'll have greater than 150 beats per minute, whereas usually the other ones won't. Afib will usually be less than that, or not more than that at least. So then with Afib, you need to look at the person. Are they stable or are they unstable? Okay. If they're unstable, you need to shock them. If they're stable, then you need to find out, is this an old or a new Afib that's going on? If it's new, within the last 48 hours, then you may need to do cardioversion. It could be medical or shocking them. If it's old, such as a greater than 48 hours, or you don't know how long it is, then you needed a two-dimensional transesophageal echocardiogram. So in this, you're going to be able to determine, is this a valvular problem or is it a non-valvular problem? Okay. If it's a valvular problem, then what you need to do is you need to give the person low molecular weight heparin and then bridge to warfarin. The reason why you do that is because initially when you give somebody warfarin, it actually can sometimes make them hypercoagulable at first. Now the whole idea here is that valves, if they're not working properly, then they can cause blood clots, and you don't want to cause blood clots. So that's why you need to make it so their blood doesn't clot. And you're looking for like an international ratio of like 2 to 3. If the person is non-valvular, then you need to determine their CHAD score, say CHADDS. So CHAD stands for congestive heart failure, hypertension, angina, diabetes mellitus, and stroke gets 2 points, okay? So once you evaluated their CHAD score, you can figure out what to do. If they don't have any of these things, but they have a non-valvular AFib, then you need to put them on aspirin, okay? I think it's the 81 dose. If they have one of these things, so not stroke, but they have diabetes, angina, hypertension, or congestive heart failure, then you need to put them on aspirin or warfarin. So you might need to consider the warfarin there. And if they have two of these things, or they have a stroke, so if they've got diabetes and an angina, or hypertension and diabetes, or congestive heart failure and hypertension, or they just had a stroke, have had one, then you need to put them on warfarin or some of the novel oral anticoagulants. You kind of need to talk that with them, because if they're on warfarin, then you're going to need to be checking their levels all the time to see what their INR is, because warfarin's really weird with the way it's metabolized. And if you put them on one of the novel oral anticoagulants, then you need to discuss with the patient to say, hey, this is not quickly reversible, whereas warfarin is. You can do things to reverse its effects. So if they fall down and they're bleeding or something, you can't stop it. You can't turn it off. But they won't have to come in all the time to have their INR checked. So I hope this was helpful for you in breaking this down.